They call themselves the Witches of Bucha, an unofficial moniker that nods to a mystic sisterhood.
Bucha because we are working in the Buchansky district, witches because all women are witches.
These women are part of a nearly all-female volunteer air defence unit, trained to shoot down Russian drones in the suburbs where they live. Suburbs of Bucha and Irpin on the outskirts of Kyiv. These areas were unknown to most outside Ukraine before the war, but are now synonymous with some of the worst atrocities committed by Russian troops in the early days of the invasion. The women of this unit lived through it and survived.
Each of us here has experienced something in our lives, something that the war took from us, something that cannot be forgiven. That's why this unites us all.
Off the training ground, Tetiana walks us through those terrifying days in 2022. Russian soldiers stormed into Irpin in late February on their way to take Kyiv.
This is where the first battles began. This is after they broke their column. The shopping centre looked like this. You can see it clearly here. Here it is. This building is burning. These are dead Russians.
Tetiana's husband, Alexander, enlisted as part of the local territorial defence.
These are residents of the city of Irpin, Bucha, ordinary residents, not military. These are volunteers who took up arms on the first day of the full-scale invasion and stood up to defend Kyiv and Ukraine in general.
Tetiana and her children hid in a nearby bomb shelter with dozens of their neighbours as the fighting raged above ground.
Where the yellow gate is, there was my husband's trench, where he held the defence. He was one of the first guys who met the Russians on the approach.
After more than a week of fighting, Alexander made it back to the bomb shelter to beg them to leave.
He said, "Tanya, please leave. Take the children away." I said, "I don't want to. I won't go without you." He replied, "You and I have different tasks. Your task is to save the children and protect them. My task is to protect the city."
Those were his last words to her. 3 years later, she still carries reminders of that loss.
This is all I have left. Portraits, military badges, and the very fragment that killed him. You know, it somehow gives me strength. There are moments when you give up and think, that's it, I can't do it anymore. And then I look at this fragment and I think, no, I can still do it.
Instead of grieving alone, Tetiana has chosen active resistance.
In wartime, we all change. We try to adapt to the realities of life. And the realities are that we have a war. That's why we take up arms.
For Tetiana and others in her unit, survival has meant adapting to a new reality, one where they've had to take on roles they never imagined.
I have lost my entire family. I have no one left in Ukraine. When I came here, I found my family. For me, this is really very important because a person cannot exist alone.
Protecting not only their country, but also each other.